All right. Number one, we are looking for a variable all by itself, which I see that x is all by itself. Since that x is all by itself, we always scribble out what I call his twin, or the other x. Now, since I'm taking out that x, I have to put in something of equal value. And do you see how the bottom equation, it says an x is equal to a 2y. So on the top equation, if I take out an x, I can plug in a 2y because it says they're equal. So my new equation after I put these two together is 2, but instead of 2x, it's 2 times 2y plus 3y equals 7. From here, we solve it. 2 times 2y is 4y. And then I see like terms. 4y plus 3y is 7y. Quick upside down t, divide by 7. And I get y equals 1. Now, if you remember from graphing, all of our answers have to look like this, what I'm writing in blue. And since I know the y is 1, I know that number is 1. But aren't I missing the x value? We always have to go back and get the other variable. Now, there's two equations written in black, the top one and the bottom one. They will both give you the correct answer. If both of them will give you the correct answer, doesn't it make sense that we want to choose the easier one of the two then? Which top or bottom black equation looks easier to you guys? Bottom. So x equals 2y, but I already know y is equal to 1. So I can plug that number in. So x equals 2 times 1. And 2 times 1 is 2. So x equals 2, which means if I were to graph these, they would cross at the point 2, 1. Okay, with number 2, we need to look for a variable that is all by itself on one side of the equal sign. And does anybody see a variable that's all by itself? That's right. This a right here is all by himself. Well, since that a is by itself, we take out its twin up here. We scribble it out. Now, if we take out an a, we have to put something in of equal value, and the bottom equation says a is equal to a 5b. So I can plug in a 5b for that a right there. So instead of 3 times a, it's 3 times 5b plus 2b equals 17. After that step, I simply solve this one. 3 times 5b is 15b. 15b plus 2b is 17b. And a quick upside down t to solve this one. Opposite of multiplying by 17 is dividing. And we get b to equal 1. Now, I need to write my answer, and doesn't x take the first spot and y take the second spot? But this one has a and b, so which one do you think goes where? A is x and b is y. That's right, it's alphabetical order. So if b is 1, I know that number is 1. Now we always got to go back and get the other variable. To do that, we have two equations up here, the top one and the bottom one that's written in black. They will both give you the same correct answer. So if both of them will work, let's pick the easier one. And which one looks easier to you? The bottom one, right? And since we know that b is 1, I can plug that number in for that variable. So a equals 5 times 1, which means a equals 5. So these two equations, if I were to graph them, would cross at 5, 1. All right, number 3. We are looking for a variable that is all by itself on one side of the equal sign. And does anybody see a variable that's all by itself? What about that y right there? Does everybody see how that y is all by himself? So that tells me I need to take out his twin, or the other y. So since I scribbled out that y, I have to substitute in something of equal value. And up here it says a y is equal to negative 3x plus 5. So since I took out a y, I have to plug in a negative 3x plus 5 right there. So it's 5x minus 4 But instead of minus 4 times y, it's minus 4 times negative 3x plus 5 equals negative 3. From here, we have to do the distributive property with the negative 4. So I'm going to bring down my 5x. Negative 4 times negative 3x is positive 12x. Negative 4 times positive 5 is negative 20. I see like terms on the same side. 5x plus 12x is 17x. Then I can solve it. Add 20. And I get 17x equals 17. Divide by 17. And x equals 1. So in my answer, I know the first number is 1. Now we always have to go back and get the other variable. We have two options for our equations up there, the top black equation and the bottom black equation. Which one looks easier to you guys? The top one does. So y equals negative 3x plus 5, but we know the x is 1. So I'm going to plug a 1 in for my x. And then I just solved this. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. And negative 3 plus 5 is 2. So we know these, if we graphed them, would intersect at 1, 2. On number 4, again, we are looking for a variable that is all by itself. And I see this y right here is all by himself. So since that y is by himself, I scribble out his twin. And I have to put in what's of equal value. So I'm going to put a 5x minus 7 in for the y right there. So the new top equation would be negative 3x minus 2, but instead of times y, it's times 5x minus 7 equals negative 12. From here, I'm just going to solve it, and I see the distributive property. Negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x. Negative 2 times negative 7 is positive 14. Like terms on the same side, I always get them together first. Negative 3x and negative 10x is negative 13x. And now I can solve it. To get the x by itself, I'm going to subtract 14. And then finally, to get the x by itself, I'm going to divide by negative 13. And x equals a positive 2. Now we always have to go back and get the other variable. So I'm going to choose the bottom equation because that looks easier to me. X is the number 2, so I'm going to plug 2 in for my x. And 5 times 2 is 10, and 10 minus 7 is 3. So my answer is the 0.23. On number 7, again, we are looking for a variable all by itself, and I see that y right there is all by himself. So I'm going to take out his twin, that y. And I have to put in something of equal value, which is a 4x plus 6. Okay. So now instead of negative 5x minus y, it's negative 5x minus, but I have to put this in parentheses, 4x plus 6 equals 21. From here, I see the distributive property with the negative symbol. Negative times 4x is negative 4x. Negative times 6 is negative 6. Like terms, negative 5x and negative 4x gives me negative 9x. Quick upside down t and solve this and add 6. And then divide by negative 9. And we get x to equal negative 3. All right, we always got to go back and get the other variable, and I think the bottom equation looks easier. Since x is negative 3, I'm going to plug that in. And then I just solve it, and I get y to equal negative 6. So if I were to graph these, they would cross or intersect at -3, -6.